journal opens like a quiet bloom at dawn. Its pages waiting for the kind of truth a woman only whispers to paper. Purple ink moves slowly, soft as lavender smoke, marking the places where her heart has learned to speak without apology. Some lines fall like petals from a violet flower, delicate, unhurried, carrying the weight of everything she survived without ever raising her voice. Other lines arrive like amethyst light, touching the edge of a window, revealing strength she didn't know she had until she saw it written down. Every sentence becomes a small stone of wisdom, stacked gently into a foundation only she can stand on. Every reflection becomes a purple lantern in the dark, glowing just enough to guide the next woman who needs a softer kind of truth. And one day, when time has softened the corners and the world has shifted its shape, these pages may rise like incense from warm hands, a scripture born from ordinary moments that were never ordinary at all. Affirmation. A woman's truth becomes sacred the moment it's written in her own color. So the writing continues, not for praise, not for legacy, but for the quiet hope that another woman someday will open these purple pages and feel her own strength echo back to her. And in that moment, the journal becomes a sanctuary. The words become a prayer, and the lie behind them becomes something holy.
Welcome to Life, Love, and the rest of it. Take a moment, settle in with me. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath soften. Let the noise of the day fall back so you can hear yourself again. I am not a therapist, not a counselor, not a mental health professional. I'm just a woman sharing lived experience, reflection, and truth. Kind of grows you from the inside out. This space is your pause, your reset, your reminder that you don't have to perform here. You don't have to be on. You just get to be. Today's conversation is for the ones who move quietly, think deeply, and feel everything, even when they don't say much. For the ones who recharge in stillness, who choose their words with intention, who show up with presence instead of volume. If that's you, you're in the right place. I'm glad you're here. Why do people try to change introverts? People love to say, why are you so quiet? Why you don't talk? Why don't you come over here with us? But here's the truth, they never want to admit. Introverts aren't bothered when someone doesn't talk to them. They don't take it personal. They don't chase conversations. They don't need to be the center of the room to feel alive. Introverts are focused on what matters, their peace, their family, their responsibilities, in their own lane. So why do people insist on trying to change them? because some people can't handle what they can't control. Some people feel uncomfortable when someone isn't performing for them. Some people think silence means something is wrong, when really, silence is just silence. And here's the part folks misunderstand the most. Introverts don't dislike crowds. They dislike the wrong crowds. Crowds with nothing in common with them, crowds that drain instead of feed, crowds that don't match their values or their lifestyle. Introverts can also sense phoniness. You can have the same lifestyle and still be different. You can live in the same city, work the same job, go to the same church, and still not be aligned in spirit, energy, or intention. Introverts feel that difference immediately. They don't force themselves into spaces they don't fit. They don't pretend to enjoy conversations that go nowhere. They don't push themselves into circles just to say they were there. And that's what people don't like. The fact that introverts don't need validation to exist. Introverts don't need to be chosen. They choose themselves. Introverts don't disappear, they protect themselves. People love to create stories about introverts. They'll say she's mad, she's acting funny, she's distant, she's not talking to nobody. But here's the truth they never want to face. Introverts don't disappear because they're overwhelmed. They disappear because people bring drama, chaos, and unnecessary conflict into spaces where introverts came to have peace. Some people bring drama, chaos, and unnecessary conflict and call it an extrovert when really it's just a bad person. Introverts don't run from life. They run from people who create bad situations and then expect everyone else to sit in the mess with them. Introverts don't avoid conversations. They avoid manipulation, insecurity, and forced personalities. Because here's the part folks don't want to admit. Introverts leave when someone tries to make them be someone they're not. They leave when someone's insecurity turns into projection. They leave when someone tries to control the room and gets offended because the introvert won't play along. And the worst part, sometimes it's not even the loud people. Sometimes it's another introvert, the one who hasn't done their own healing. That's when the envy shows up. They look at you and wonder, how is she still happy when nobody is talking to her? How is she comfortable by herself? How does she stay grounded without needing attention? Instead of being honest about their own emptiness, they start telling lies. She's mad, she's angry, she's miserable, she's acting funny. And they start watching every move. But it's not misery, it's self-respect, it's emotional maturity, it's peace over performance. People don't always make bad choices. Sometimes they meet bad people who refuse to accept that you're not like them. That's the line. That's the truth. That's the whole segment. Because introverts aren't bothered by who doesn't talk to them. They're bothered by people who try to force them into a version of themselves that does not exist. People love to twist the phrase, choose yourself. They'll call it selfish, distant, or cold. But that's only because they don't understand what it actually means. We've discussed this before. For introverts, choosing yourself is not an attitude. It's not ego. It's not shutting people out. It's clarity. It's peace. It's thinking. It's thoughts. It's thinking before speaking. It's thinking before reacting. Choosing yourself means you stop letting people rewrite who you are just because they're uncomfortable with your quiet strength. It means you refuse to perform to make insecure people feel secure. It means you walk away from drama you didn't create and don't want to be part of. They step back when someone tries to force them into arguments, gossip, or emotional messiness. They step back when someone tries to control their personality. They step back when someone's insecurity turns into projection. Introverts avoid people who create bad situations, not because they're scared, not because they're weak, but because they know their peace is worth more than someone else's dysfunction. I leave when someone tries to make me be someone I'm not. That's choosing yourself. Introverts are only concerned with their peace, their family, and their life they're building and creating peace for other people. They don't need the crowd. They don't need validation. They don't need to be the center of attention. Introverts can be happy even when nobody is talking to them. I'm not abandoning me to make you feel better. And that's not selfish. That's maturity. I have some reflective questions for extroverts. Self-awareness. Do you notice when someone needs space, or do you assume they want the same level of interaction you do? Energy sensitivity. Do you pay attention to how your energy affects quieter people in the room? Listening versus talking. Do you listen to understand, or do you listen to respond? Respecting boundaries. Do you take it personally when someone doesn't want to talk, or do you respect their boundaries? Projection check. Do you assume someone is upset just because they're quiet, or do you allow them to simply be themselves? Control versus connection. Do you try to pull people into your world, or do you meet them where they are? Validation needs. I'm at the inner harbor, and they have the boats out cleaning the water. And that's the noise that you hear. Validation needs. Do you need attention to feel valued? And how does that shape your relationship? Misreading introverts. Do you misinterpret silence as rejection instead of understanding it as control or neutrality? Emotional pace. Do you give others time to process, or do you rush them because you process quickly? Share space. Do you create space for quieter voices, or do you unintentionally dominate the room? And here's a bonus reflection for extroverts. What would it look like for you to connect without assuming everyone communicates the way you do? Two different languages, not opposites. Introverts versus extroverts. People love to act like introverts and extroverts are enemies, like one is right and the other is wrong, but the truth is simple. They're not opposites. They're different operating systems. Introverts recharge internally. They think before they speak. They observe before they engage. They protect their peace like it's part of their health. And it actually is. Extroverts recharge externally. They talk to process. They connect through interaction. They feel alive when the room is full. Neither one is wrong. They just move differently. Where the misunderstanding happens, the problem isn't the personalities, it's the assumptions. Extroverts assume quiet means something is wrong, but for introverts, quiet is comfort, quiet is clarity, quiet is home. And that doesn't mean that it has to be quiet around an introvert. That means their quiet is comfort. Their quiet is clarity. Quiet is home for the introvert. Introverts assume extroverts are doing too much. But for extroverts, energy is expression, talking is connection, movement is joy. And for extroverts, once again, let's not get confused with loud bad people and soft-spoken bad people causing chaos. We're talking about extroverts and introverts that does not cause chaos intentionally, on purpose. Sometimes things happen unintentionally. Both sides misread each other because they're speaking two different emotional languages. What introverts need extroverts to understand, once again, silence is not rejection. Introverts aren't ignoring you, they're processing. Space is not distance. They're not pulling away, they're recharging. Independence is not attitude. They're not acting funny. They're staying aligned. Or they're in deep thought. That's something that has nothing to do with you. What extroverts need introverts to understand. Talking is connection. They need that. They need to talk to someone. Extroverts feel close when they communicate out loud. Energy is expression. The excitement isn't chaos all the time. It's how they show joy. Engagement to them is love. When they pull you in, it's not control, it's care. Sometimes you don't have to be the same to get along. Extroverts, introverts can coexist beautifully when both sides stop trying to fix each other. Introverts bring up depth. They bring calm, clarity, and emotional intelligence. If you just let them be them. Stop being concerned about why they're not talking to you. Extroverts bring movement. They bring energy, connection, and momentum. They make everybody laugh a lot of times. They keep people interested in what they have to say most of the time, if it doesn't cause chaos. Together they balance each other. One brings the grounding. Hey, we don't need to talk about that. The other brings the spark. Hey, let's talk about that. Introverts and extroverts don't need to match energy. They just need to respect each other's rhythm. Let me say this clearly. Addiction, faith, and why people care so much about your life. Addiction is real. What does this have to do with what I was just talking about? I just wanted to slip it in there real quick. But so addiction is real, but so is deliverance. And not everybody who talks about addiction is judging. Some are just trying to understand their own guilt. I'm in a shelter right now. Yes, I have to go to church, but let's be honest, I was looking for a church before this. I grew up in Maryland Church of God in Christ and Columbia Church of God in Christ. Church is not new to me. Faith is not new to me. And I'm not holier than thou. I'm just honest. Here's what guilty conscious people don't understand. Stopping cigarettes, not a sin, a choice. Stopping marijuana, not a sin. Just clarity, just eyes wide open. Just choosing faith over fog. And the funny part, my children were mad when I stopped smoking marijuana. But they were happy when I stopped wasting money. People pick and choose what they want to support. Yes, that's sex outside of marriage. Yes, that's a sin. And yes, I've done it. If that's what you want to hear, there it is. But here's my question. Why is my sin so important to you? Why does my life bother you so much? Why does my growth make you uncomfortable? Why does my discipline trigger other people's guilt? Because that's what this is really about. People project when they don't want to face themselves. They judge you so they don't have to look at their own reflection. And then they say, well, you put personal things on social media. No, I responded to rumors. I responded to lies. I responded to stories people created about me when they didn't even know the truth. People love to say the rumors you hear about me might be true. Okay, but let me ask you this. What does it mean to you? What does it affect? How does it affect your daily life? Because if my life, my choices, my healing, my growth is affecting your day that much, that's not my problem. That's your conscience talking to you. People don't get mad at your sin. They get mad at your freedom, your clarity, your peace, your ability to walk into a room with the past and still hold your head up. Addiction didn't take me out. Rumors didn't take me out. Judgment didn't take me out. And the reason people care so much, because they can't understand how you're still standing after everything they said should have broken you. People throw judgment around because they don't understand the difference between guilt and conviction. And trust me, the difference matters. Guilt comes from people. Conviction comes from God. Guilt is horizontal. It's about what people think. It's about embarrassment. It's about image. It's about fear of being exposed. Guilt makes you hide. Guilt makes you defend. Guilt makes you lash out at others because you don't want to face yourself. Conviction is vertical. It's between you and God. It's quiet. It's gentle. It's corrective, not condemning. Conviction doesn't embarrass you. It grows you. Conviction doesn't shame you. It guides you. Guilt points at others. Conviction points at you. Guilt says, she's wrong, he's wrong, they're wrong. Look at what they did. Guilt needs a distraction. It needs someone else to blame. Conviction says, let me check my own heart. Let me fix my own walk. Let me clean up my own spirit. Conviction doesn't need an audience. Guilt always does. And that's where that inner prayer comes from. That's when you sit quietly in your softness and think about you from the inside. People who walk in guilt become loud, defensive, and critical. They monitor other people's lives because they're avoiding their own. People who walk in conviction become humble, reflective, and honest. They don't have time to judge. They're too busy growing. And that's when that quietness come in and everybody wants to know, why are they so quiet? Why is she so quiet? Or why is he so quiet? Because they're humble. They're being reflective. And they're being honest with themselves, about themselves. Guilt is fear-based. Conviction is love-based. Guilt says, you're exposed. You're not enough. You're too far gone. Conviction says, you can do better. You're still loved. You're still redeemable. Conviction lifts you. Guilt crushes you. Guilt is about shame. Conviction is about transformation. There's something I've noticed over the years, and maybe you've seen it too. Some people don't get happier when good things happen to you. They get happier when bad things happen to you. They light up when they hear a rumor. They perk up when they hear you're struggling. They get bold when they think you're weak. That's not normal. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's insecurity, jealousy, and spiritual immaturity. And it shows up every time something happens in your life. My injury, suddenly their favorite topic. Not because they care, but because it gives them something to talk about that makes them feel better about themselves. Your struggles, they treat them like entertainment. Your name in somebody's mouth, it gives them a sense of purpose they don't have in their own life. But here's the truth. Some of us been through a lot for a long time. Some of us been through a lot in a short time. And still going through it. And you're still going. That's what bothers them. You are not going to change to make other people comfortable. You are not going to claim something that is not true. You are not going to let people rewrite your identity. People can say whatever they want, but you know who you are. And this part needs to be said with respect and clarity. Your sexual orientation is your identity, not a rumor, not a label someone can throw at you, not something people get to assign because they're uncomfortable with your independence. You're not condemning anyone. You're not judging anyone. You're simply stating your truth. You are not a lesbian. You do not desire women. You do not want to wake up to the touch of a woman. That's your choice, your identity, your truth. You don't have to change that to fit in. And nobody has the right to twist that. When people say things like, nobody wants you, you can't have children anymore, you're dirty, those are not facts. Those are not spiritual truths. Those are not reflections of your worth. Those are weapons insecure people use when they can't control you. People who cause chaos always need a target. And when you remove yourself from their drama, their panic, because now they have to face themselves. When you get your chaos causing stuff out of my life, life will be close to perfect. That's not arrogance. That's boundaries. People love to question your faith when they see you going through something because your response is the truth. Where's yours? Because faith is not proven by how loud you can talk about it. Faith is proven by how you survive what should have broken you. And you're still here, still standing, still growing, still choosing truth over rumors, still choosing identity over labels, still choosing peace over chaos. That's faith. My life is not your entertainment. My identity is not your rumor. And my faith is not your punchline. People love to say, well, Iris, you share your life on YouTube and Spotify, so you must want people in your business. No, let me explain something clearly. What I share is intentional. What I keep is sacred. And the things I share, they sound like strength, growth, healing, and clarity. So people twist that into perfection. People confuse transparency with perfection. Just because I speak openly doesn't mean I'm pretending to be perfect. It means I'm choosing what parts of my story are meant to help somebody else. But here's the part people don't want to admit. Some people only enjoy your story when you're the villain. They want to hear the bad parts. They want to hear the mistakes. They want to hear the moments you fell short. Not because they care, but because it makes them feel better about their own life. When a story makes you look strong, healed, or wise, they get quiet. They get uncomfortable. They get irritated because your growth exposes their stagnation. Well, tell us what you did wrong. No, absolutely not. Well, maybe sometimes. My confessions belong to God, not to gossip. What I did wrong is between me and my belief, not me and the public. Not me and a stranger. Not me and the internet. Not me and the people who want to entertain. I'm not teaching anybody how to sin smarter. I'm not giving anybody a blueprint to repeat my mistakes. I'm not feeding a heeding ear that only wants to hear the dirt. Because some people don't want to learn from your story. They want to copy it and hope they get a better outcome. And I refuse to be responsible for that. You think you're better? Nope. That's projection. People project when your growth makes them uncomfortable. When you heal, they call it arrogance. When you set boundaries, they call it attitude. When you speak truth, they call it judgment. When you share your journey, they call it perfection. I share what I choose, I keep what I choose, and neither one makes me better than anyone. It just makes me intentional. People want to confess publicly so they can feel justified privately. But I'm not doing that. My mistakes are lessons, not content. I don't need to broadcast every wrong turn I ever made. I don't need to hand out details that don't help anyone grow, and you shouldn't either. I don't need to expose myself to make insecure people feel comfortable. I share the parts that heal. I keep the parts that God is still working on. That's not secrecy. That's wisdom. I share my story to help, not necessarily to entertain. And the parts I keep are not for the world. They're for my healing. People love to act like they have a front row seat in your spiritual walk. They want to judge it, compare it, analyze it, and twist it. But let me say, my journey with God is my business. Your walk is yours. If you want to share your testimony, that's your choice. If you want to keep it private, that's your right. But stop trying to diagnose people because they don't handle situations the way you would. We are not the same. We don't think the same. We don't heal the same. We don't process the same. We are all human, not identical. Different personalities, different battles, different callings, different levels of strength. Learn that. People love to say this when they can't understand others' peace, when they can't understand others' silence, when they can't understand others' boundaries. But nothing is wrong with you. People project when they don't understand your strength. They want you to fall apart the way they would. They want you to panic the way they do. They want you to break so they can feel normal. But you don't break like that. You don't fold like that. You don't crumble like that. And that bothers some people. That bothers them. Okay, so now we are getting ready to close with Purple Petals. Another song that I co-wrote with co-pilot. The meaning. Before I give you the lyrics, let me set the foundation of the meaning. Purple is royalty. Purple is dignity. Purple is spiritual maturity. Purple is the color of someone who has survived storms and still stands with grace. Petals represent softness without weakness. Petals bend but don't break. Petals open when they're ready. Petals grow in their own season. Purple petals is my way of saying, I've been through things, but I don't lose my softness. I don't lose my faith. I didn't lose myself. So now I'm over by Jake's skate park, and it's some young people over here on the skate park, and then there's BGE Nature Play, and I'm going to go into Purple Skin. You know, people hear the word purple and they think royalty, softness, beauty. But for me, purple has always meant survival. It has meant dignity after the storm, grace after the breaking, strength without losing your softness. And that's what this next piece is about. Purple Skin is not a song about perfection. It's a song about becoming. It's a song about walking through seasons to try to take you out and still rising with petals instead of bitterness. It's about every woman who ever had to pick up pieces she didn't drop. Every woman who had to rebuild herself quietly, every woman who learned how to love herself without asking for permission. It's about me, it's about you, it's about the women who came before us and the women who will come after. When you hear these lyrics, I want you to hear your own reflection in them, your own healing, your own fire, your own softness, your own becoming. Because purple skin isn't just a color. It's a testimony, it's a crown, it's a reminder that every bruise can become a blossom and every tear can become a hymn. So wherever you are, in your car, in your room, in your healing, in your rebuilding, I want you to take a breath, open your heart, and let this next piece speak to the part of you that survived. This is Purple Petals. Verse 1, this first verse speaks for every woman who has walked through seasons that tried to break her, seasons where pieces were dropped, forgotten, or taken. But women always find a way to gather themselves again. Every lesson carries its own rhythm. Every heartbreak has its own pause. And every time a woman rises, she rises with more grace, more wisdom, more dignity. That's what purple petals on the skin represents. The beauty that forms after the storm. This part speaks to the truth people often misunderstand. Women are not fragile, they are intentional. Women are not quiet, they are refined. Women carry the echoes of those who came before them, women who survived storms with grace, women who held entire worlds together. This is their continuation, strength passed down through generations. The chorus is the crowning moment for every woman. The petals falling are not signs of weakness. They are symbols of honor. Every bruise becomes a blossom. Every tear becomes a hymn. Women wear their stories proudly, not as scars, but as petals, soft, royal, and resilient. Verse 2, this verse speaks to the journey of learning to love oneself. Women learn to trust their own hearts. They learn to stop shrinking to make others comfortable. They learn to stop dimming their spirit just to keep the peace. Every woman is a garden in the making, growing, blooming, becoming. And every time a woman chooses herself, her petals return, her dignity returns, her peace returns. The bridge honors the lineage of women everywhere. Women who held storms steady, women who carried burdens with grace, women who weren't perfect but were present, women who weren't flawless but were faithful to their becoming. This is the moment where women recognize their roots and dance in the petals because they finally understand their worth. The final chorus is the victory of all women. The petals don't just fall, they crown. Women stand in their fire. They stand in their softness. They stand in their truth. Every bruise, every tear, every season becomes something beautiful. And women wear it proudly, like purple petals on their skin. Purple skin is the story. Purple petals is the story of every woman who survived the storm and still chose softness. For every woman listening, purple skin is not just a melody you heard. It's a reflection of everything you lived through. It's the reminder that you can walk through seasons that try to break you and still rise with softness. You can carry bruises that turned into blossoms. You can cry tears that turn into hymns. You can wear your story without shame because your story is not a wound. It's a crown. The song speaks for the women who rebuilt themselves quietly, for the women who held storms steady, for the women who carried worlds in their hands and still found a way to smile, for the women who learned to love themselves even when the world told them not to. Purple petals is a reminder that dignity can survive disaster, that softness can survive struggle, that beauty can survive breaking. It's for the women who don't always shout, but always rise. For the women who don't always speak, but always know. For the women who don't always show their pain, but always heal. So if you're listening right now and you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated, let this be your confirmation. You are still blooming, no matter what you're going through. You are still blooming. You are still becoming. You are still worthy of petals. And no matter what you've walked through, no matter what you survived, no matter what you're still healing from, you wear your story proudly like purple petals on your skin. For everyone listening, women, men, brothers, sisters, fathers, daughters, sons, doesn't matter what color, what shade you are. If something in this episode moved you, if purple skin, purple petals touched a part of your story, if you have wisdom, encouragement, or truth to add, your voice is welcome here. This podcast is not just a space for women. It's a space for anyone with something real to say. So here's what you can do. Call, scan the QR code in the comments, response, and leave your message. You can leave a voice note. You can leave an advice. You can leave a testimony. You can leave a reflection. You can leave a moment of truth. Men, if you have something to say that can help women understand, grow, or heal, your voice matters too. Women, if you have something to say that can help men see, learn, or reflect, your voice matters too. This is a shared space, a learning space, a healing space, a human space. And whatever you send, if it's respectful, real, and aligned with the heart of this episode, I will air as many messages as I can at the end of the next episode. Because sometimes the message someone needs comes from a voice they didn't expect. So again, scan the QR code in the comments and add your voice to the conversation. Your message might be the one that brings clarity. Your story might be the one that brings healing. Your truth might be the one that brings understanding. And together we rise with petals, with purpose, with purple skin. Life teaches, love stretches, and the rest of it is where we grow into who we were always becoming. It's the quiet lessons, the unspoken truths, the moments that soften us and the moments that sharpen us. It's the laughter we didn't expect, the healing we didn't know we needed, and the clarity that arrives after we finally stop running from ourselves. Life shapes us. Love reveals us. And the rest of it is where we learn to stand in our own story with honesty, with grace, and with a little more courage than we had yesterday. This is where reflection becomes wisdom, where experience becomes intention, where truth becomes legacy. This is life, love, and the rest of it. And this is Iris.